Put down your baby and pick up a beer. Dad Jokes is finally back with a brand new episode. I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you're listening to the podcast of two dads going through the journey of fatherhood while you all listen to us. And normally, Brandon, we record each and every week, but we've had a lot, and I mean a lot, going on lately. So it's been a little bit since we've talked on this podcast. It seems strange.
It does, and I think you've actually I'm going to say for once. Normally is 100% me while we can't record, and this time it was like 90% me while we couldn't record. But you have a lot going. You have a lot going on too. I think we both been busy, and the Lions also played yesterday, and we wanted to watch the game, so we're getting it in now.
That is true. The Lions beat the Packers in Lambeau. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brand, but I think that's our fourth straight win over the Packers.
Fourth straight win. Dan Campbell has the Packers number.
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. Anyone who's a Lions fan out there knows anything about football knows that we don't have a great history of beating anyone.
No.
So
he's the first coach since who was it, Ray Liotta?
Ray Liotta.
That was a joke. It was Ray something.
I like it.
Roy.
So Brandon, before we get started too much, let's go with the dad joke. I mean, with this podcast is
I'm
called
starting
Dad
off
Jokes
this
for a
week.
reason.
I'm starting off this week.
All right.
And I'm gonna make you uncomfortable. And we going. Hey, if you got kids in the car, if they ask you what does that mean, look at them and say you too young to know. But here we go. We about to make Jerry uncomfortable and start. We coming back with a rated R dad joke. What do deadbeat dads and toolboxes have in common?
I don't know.
Screws, nuts, and bolts.
I have heard that before. It's actually pretty good. I like it.
Let's get it.
Well, hopefully no deadbeat dads are listening out there. And hopefully we're not considered deadbeat dads, Brandon.
Maybe that's the next tip. How to be a good deadbeat dad.
How not to be a deadbeat dad. I like it. Yeah. That's our next episode.
That was opposite of what I said.
I like it. This episode, we're going to talk a little bit about number 2 versus number 1. But I'm not talking about bathroom. I'm talking about kids. I realized it as I said that. But what's been going on, Brandon? We haven't talked for a few weeks. What have you guys been up to?
So since the last time we talked, there's a lot. So we're gonna go down the list. We took Bryce. So we live in Michigan. We're both Jerry and I are about, I'd say, 45 minutes away from the Detroit Zoo. But I always remember growing up. Not only, yeah, exactly. I always remember growing up. We not only did my parents take us to the Detroit Zoo, but they took us to the Toledo Zoo, and I always thought that zoo was a little bit more fun. And I don't remember why growing up, but we took Bryce a couple weekends ago to the Toledo Zoo, and I mean it was a great experience that we had. It seems like, and I think the Detroit Zoo has more room for like the animals, so this is probably better for the animals. But Toledo Zoo, the animals are just like active every time I've gone there. It seems like you can always like see the animal you're looking for, and they're typically like doing something. So that's pretty cool, because sometimes you go to the zoo and you get like an animal that's hiding somewhere you can't really see it. That's never really that fun. Bryce also, they have a African like safari exhibit. As a part of that, you can like pay to feed the giraffes. So we bought like 12 pieces of lettuce, and Bryce got to feed giraffes. So that was super cool. I'll put a picture up or a video up on the Dad Jokes Instagram and Facebook so we can see it. He also had his first trip to the dentist. I know Peyton has gone already. It actually went, according to the dentist, pretty well. They told us something that was contrary to what our doctor said about the pacifier, which was interesting. But they seem to be the people who know teeth more, and I'll get to that in a second, because we're trying to wean the pacifier right now. But dentist went great. My wife was smart enough to bring his at-home toothbrush, which is like an Elmo electric toothbrush that talks to you and like vibrates and sings as you
What's the
actually
voice?
brush your teeth.
What's it say?
Huh?
It's time for Elmo to brush your teeth.
There you go.
There we go.
I wish people at home
like
had
it.
the privilege of like seeing my face and when I do that. That's gonna be fun hearing that
That's
back.
great.
But
Brush, brushy, brush, brushy, brush, brush.
all right, I'm done. So it actually went really well. He met the head dentist. She came in, counted his teeth, was the beginning of the process, and then really on the first visit, the hygienist, his main point was just to see what Bryce let him do. They are really big on like not scaring the kid. They're not gonna push it, just seeing what they allow. So Kelsey had Bryce's toothbrush. He's used to when like the toothbrush goes in, he opens up big and wide and lets us like kind of brush his teeth. So he was generally good up until like the very end, when he basically just had enough of sitting in that chair and sitting in one spot. Because normally brushing his teeth takes all of like 2 minutes when he's doing it with us. But overall, he did good. I mentioned the pacifier. So our doctor has been pushing us to like basically as of like 4 months ago, and then at his 2-year visit, he's like, get that pacifier out of his mouth. So Kelsey and I agreed, and the Friday before his dentist visit, which was on a Tuesday, we cold turkey, or at least in theory, cold turkey, went no pacifier. And that lasted for all of like 2 days because we were both sick and tired, and that kid would not. He'd wake up and was inconsolable. Like, and he's normally not like that. And I mean, it was like the first night, I think it was like 2.5 hours that he just wouldn't. You couldn't get him to settle. He was absolutely freaking out. Like, couldn't do anything. So I told her, let's go ahead and give him. We it kind of sucks, but we let him cry for a few hours. Like, we were holding him, couldn't console him, but in my mind I was like, let's just get through this first day, and we should be good. You 2.5 going on 3 hours in to a kid really going at it, like where you got maybe 5 minutes of reprieve in a given time. We needed to try something else. So I said, let's give him the passy, let him fall asleep. At the very least, he wasn't falling asleep with the passy. Let's see what happens. Next night, basically same story. He fell asleep actually without the passy, but woke up screaming again. So we kind of back to the drawing board. He's falling asleep without the passy, but then we put a passy in his. So he's not like necessarily surrounded by passies, but we put one in the crib for him to find if he goes looking for it in the middle of the night. We've seen some other strategies, which I know we've talked about a little bit on the podcast, but some involve smaller pacifiers, some involve like cutting your passy, a variety of different things. But the dentist told us, and this was unprovoked, but basically said as long as the pacifier is out by the age of 3, she didn't think there would be any like long-term effects. Now, we're not subscribing to that. We're still attempting to get this done as soon as possible, but it is definitely a work in progress with our strong-willed child. I'm gonna cut mine short and let you give us a little update, and I'll come back on the back end and give us a little bit more. So, what you guys been up to?
Yeah, a lot. Like you guys, kind of a lot's been going on, both in parenthood and in life in general. But parenting wise, Avery, we think, has hit kind of the dreaded 4-month regression at like 3 months, because she's a little over 3 months, and I guess that's pretty common. So the 4-month regression can be one of the worst ones, but it can happen anywhere from like 3 to 5 months, they say. And she's wakes up multiple times a night, is hard to put back down, is cranky. So that's been fun. I thought we
sounds like Bryce without a pacifier.
And then, yeah, no kidding. I thought we had gotten through the worst, but then she last night was up quite a few times again. So we'll see. She's also in the middle of a leap because, at this age, Brandon, they're always in the middle of a leap. This one's like, I don't know, 2 months long. So just, I don't even know how it's a leap. It's just called being a baby. But, I don't know. Yeah, she's in the middle of a leap, but she's been kind of cranky lately. She is getting a lot bigger. She's very, very close to rolling over. She's starting to grab things, interact with things more, making more faces, smiling, laughing. So she's definitely got more personality. And that's kind of fun, but she tends to be angry. My mom was watching her today, and I was like, "How's the girls?" And she's like, "Peyton's doing great. Avery's being Avery." Oh yeah, that's how Avery is. She's kind of angry. Yeah. Peyton's been doing really good lately. Actually, she's been really, really good. She's a lot of fun right now. She has some weird things. I think with Macy going back to work, she randomly has some weird things. Like, there's been a few nights where she like refuses to eat in her high chair, like freaks out. But it always seems to be like after Macy goes back to work after not working for a few days. So I don't know if that's why. That's kind of weird. She's never done that before. She's done it like 3 times in the last couple weeks. So that's kind of, and it's annoying because she won't eat unless you like have her in your lap then. So, but we're making do. Peyton's also, she started drinking out of cups without like sippy cups and stuff, and she thinks it's the coolest thing ever. So, I don't, yeah, to the point today where she like, I gave her a water bottle and she wouldn't drink out of it. She was so mad I didn't give her a cup, and it's like, okay. So I just pour the water bottle into the cup. So she does good with it. It's just, she like to run around sometimes and it gets everywhere, but she's doing good there.
What made you guys decide to start doing that?
I think Macy read something that it was like she should be doing it, and we just never did. And so I think she bought a couple of like cheap cups that didn't have lids and stuff. And the first time like Peyton like poured it like half over herself, but since then she's been pretty good with it. And we still
half
give her
of our
sippy
problems.
cups.
We don't really drink out of cups like that. It's all like,
I mean, it was weird.
fancy-
It was. I can't even remember what it was. We read something and it was like they should be drinking. And I was like, when? We've never even tried that. So
he's
we
definitely
did,
done it. Like he had it. He's had it since he's a baby, but it's not regular at all. We probably need to make an effort to do that.
Yeah. I mean, and we just started a couple weeks ago, so it's not been that long. Her speech is still a work in progress, but she's been saying, like, she's been obsessed with saying Minnie lately, which is super cute, but she loves saying Minnie. My mom said she said chicken nugget today, but that's the weird thing about her is like she'll say like random stuff that like you would never expect her to say, but then like stuff you do expect her to say, she doesn't. I don't know. She still counts to 1, 2, 3. She likes that. She figured out, I just started recently having her turn lights on and off, and she loves it. So before we go to bed every night, I'm always like, you want to turn the light off? And she gets super excited and she turns it off. So that's fun. And she also turns the hatch on. She thinks that's great too. So it's kind of our bedtime routine. So she's learning a lot. She's been doing great. We went to a diaper party for a friend and she was having a blast there, but she got about 10 mosquito bites on her face. That was kind of a nightmare because she kind of freaked out the next day when they were itchy.
Yeah, mosquitoes suck right now.
Yeah. Literally, I think Macy counted 10 on her face. So that was not great. She still is got like a little bit of the bumps. And this is like from 2 weeks ago. So that wasn't great. But other than that, big things kind of in our own personal life, Brandon. We had our anniversary recently, so we went out to dinner, which was a good time. And then you and I are both involved in a major thing with work. Anyone who hasn't listened to us before, Brandon and I both work for a dealership, and we're in the process of purchasing a new dealership, which we will both be in leadership roles there. So that has been a big move, and we're kind of in the middle of the transition, hoping that everything goes smoothly. It's not finalized yet, but that's it's a little bit ways away from where I live, and I've been working down there every day, so trying to work-life balance. It's a little hectic right now, but it's exciting stuff.
AKA Jerry's gonna move twice, and he's gonna have 2 houses in less than 2 years, just like he had 2 kids in less than 2 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot, but it should be exciting stuff for both of us. And then last thing is, this week is going to be our big trip to Seattle for my brother's wedding. and we're gonna do that the plane ride. So
How excited are you?
I told our boss today, I was like, I think I'm more nervous about this plane ride with my 2 kids than I am about running a dealership of 150 employees. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm nervous for sure. So we'll see how it goes. But that's going to be next week. We're going to be in Seattle for a few days. My little brother's getting married, so that's exciting. But that'll be fun to report on during the next podcast. How did that go? What did that look like? And maybe some tips and stuff to make your life better if maybe you're flying with your kids soon. So hope to have some help. Hopefully it goes well. But I guess more to be determined on that, Brandon. What else you got?
So we got a couple more things. Kelsey left for she had to go to Canada for some basically a conference, like an internal conference for work. So she was gone for a few days. So Bryce and I got to hang out. That's always fun for me. Something similar is happening in about a week and a half. So right when you'll be getting back from Seattle, my parents are going to be leaving for about 10 days. And as a part of that, I had to take a week off because we had no childcare options. So I will be hanging out with Brian. I can't lie, I'm excited about it. I had time off this year for surgery, but we haven't taken any vacations, or I haven't taken any Actually, we did go on a work trip to Nashville. Can't forget about that, and that gave Kelsey and I some time to hang out, which was fun. But haven't really taken any time off to just chill out this year at all. I think that'll give me some time at home to kind of get a few things done behind the scenes for what you just talked about with the new store, but also get to hang out with Bryce, which is just super fun. He's during the day he is at like in a really good spot, like, and this last week let me just really get to hang out with him more than I normally do, because if Kelsey's in the room, I'm typically playing third fiddle to Kelsey and then Riley and then me. Riley's our dog, who Bryce absolutely terrorizes on a daily basis, but loves doing it. So I'm really excited about that. I feel like that might let me turn the corner, and hopefully by the time that week is over, I'm the new favorite parent. Don't tell Kelsey I said that.
There you go.
And then tomorrow we're going to our annual trip to Kelsey's hometown. She's from Grand Rapids, and there's an apple orchard out there, Robinette's, that is like just a childhood memory of hers, and it's something that is very important for her, like year in, year out, that we go to. We've gone there every year, at least a couple times a year, and she wants at least once a year to be able to take Bryce out there. So we're gonna do that tomorrow and have a good time. But other than that, that's kind of the update and future plans for us.
Yeah, Brandon, it's kind of funny you mentioned that. My mom invited us to go apple picking with some of my family in a couple weeks, and I found out today that her inviting us apple picking was indeed in Grand Rapids, where my sister is, and I didn't know that. Luckily, my sister, who lives in Grand Rapids, realized that was probably not the best idea, so they're coming out this way. But I wonder if the apple orchard would have been Robinette's, because that's where apparently she originally intended it for us to go apple picking. We have since then changed it, but just found that out today. I was like, yeah, I don't think I was going to drive out there for apple picking. But
Grand Rapids people swear by Robinette's. Like, they absolutely do. I don't have to get into the cider and donuts and just how I feel in general, because I'm going to sound like the Scrooge of fall. But, I mean, it's an apple orchard. That's how I look at it. I've seen bigger.
The donuts
I've
are
seen
different.
Better.
I'm sorry. The donuts are different at different places.
Kelsey
you
will tell you that
that
Robinette's have you been to Robinette's before?
I honestly don't know. My mom loves apple orchards. I've been to so many I couldn't even
Maybe
tell
y'all
you.
should make the trip out there. She swears that they have the best cider and donuts. So maybe it's worth it. I mean, the line goes for days when you go
Stony
out there.
Creek has really good cider and donuts. If you ever get a chance,
I've never heard of that. I also just made the decision I don't like the way you say donut. But
Well,
that's
I don't
neither
like the
here
way you
nor
say
there.
compass. I learned that earlier today, so. So we're even. Because I learned that about an hour ago. And I didn't call you out on it. 'Cause I knew there'd be a moment later on where I could use it.
I mean, your
that's
your
great.
timing was pretty good.
Yeah. So, Brandon, I got a piece of baby gear for you. A segment we like to do on the show is a piece of baby gear that maybe parents at home can buy if they don't have, that might do some use for them. And a couple weeks ago when we were on here, I talked about an art table I bought for Peyton and put together that she absolutely loves. But Macy's stocked that art table, and one thing she stocked it with that I'm super grateful for is and I didn't even know this existed, but apparently Crayola makes super washable markers. And basically that means they can get off of stuff, because I found Peyton the other day drawing on the wall with said markers, and it came right off. But if it didn't, I would have been very upset. So thank you for the super washable markers. Can't highly recommend them enough, because I basically have white walls. I mean, it's like a light gray, so it's not like, but it came off. It came off really easily. So super washable markers.
Did you
for the
know that
win.
they were super washable when you saw the writing on the wall?
No, I did not. I freaked out. It was red. I had the baby in my arms, and she was at her art table, and the art table obviously is near a wall, and she just kind of like put her hand in the air. I don't think she was trying to draw on the wall. I think she was just swinging the marker around, because why not? And got it all over the wall. But it came off. So crisis averted.
I mean, as a kid, I can't think of many things that would be more fun than writing on a wall. It's like a big piece of paper. You can write wherever you want.
Yeah, Macy also stocked the art table with 7,000 things of art, which basically just means that Peyton takes all 7,000 things out every single day.
Bro.
And then I have to put them back in. And I literally looked at her and go, why did you put so much stuff in there? Literally our entire life is just restocking that stupid table. I mean, the kid loves it, but I mean, there's got to be at least 1,000 sheets of construction paper in the table. She don't need that many sheets of construction paper.
I texted. This is gonna be things that Dad said this week. I texted Kelsey. This was probably the second day she was gone, because I mean, I'm used to picking up toys. Like we are religious about every night putting everything up. Just start the day off fresh the next day. We know it's gonna happen.
Yep, us too.
But I watched this kid systematically go through, and part of it's our fault, because, and by our, I mean not me.
Yeah,
Of the two adults in this house, not the one talking right now. But this kid has way too many toys, way too many little toys, like way too many just stuff in general. You mentioned like the construction paper, like there's a bunch of there's drawing. He has a art type table in the main room, and he has basically like pads of coloring pages. His favorite thing to do is rip the pages out of the booklet and just throw them on the ground. And so I texted her. I was like, how did he get so efficient at taking every toy that he has and throwing it on the ground? Because we have them organized in bins, and by the end of the day, everything is out, and I don't understand. So I just watched him. I watched him on Tuesday, and he just went. He was playing one thing, and as he was having the time of his life with the car, he was just rolling the car around. But he would roll it to a new spot, grab toys out, and take them out for no reason. And he'd roll the car to a different spot, grab the toys there, take them out for no reason. Every piece of paper that was loose on his table, he would just grab it. He took his hand and just threw them all on the ground, which caused Dad 20 minutes of pickup. It's just annoying. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I signed up for this again. So, which is
we
probably
play
skip my baby gear.
Well, we play a game every night that basically we pick up this art table and all stuff, and there's always at least 3 to 4 either caps or markers that don't have other matches. And nobody knows where they're at. I don't know where they're at. So they sit on the counter. And then the next day, miraculously, we find a couple, and then there's a new 3 to 4. So right now, I think there's 3 random caps or markers just sitting there of different sizes and colors, and you don't have a match to it. So that's fun. They're under my couch or in my couch or under the dog bed.
You know
knows?
who will
But
find it?
That's a fun game.
Peyton will find it. Bryce will find it.
Yep.
You won't find it.
Mm-hmm.
They know exactly where it's at, though.
Ever.
And you know how you know when they find it? Because you'll hear, because they can't reach it. And they're calling. Bryce will do that noise and he say, help, please, help. Daddy, help. Which is the cutest thing you've ever heard. But then you looking at it, he's like, oh, this is the thing I knew was missing yesterday. But I couldn't find it. Thanks. Appreciate you. So, yeah. I'm going to be short and sweet. My baby gear this week, I talked about it at the beginning of the podcast. You actually recommended this to us. But our Munchkin diaper pail, after 2.5 or 2 and a little bit strong years, that thing is blew out. The top is like about to be gone. It doesn't close all the way. So we bought a new one. And we bought a new one because we really like that diaper pail. So I wanted to double down on that. And that's what we recommend. It helps mask the smell of stinky diapers. And Munchkin diaper pail. That is my baby gear.
Yeah. We have 2 of them. Love them. We have
But
one
we'll
that's
have
not.
2 now.
Hate it.
One's broken. You got 3 diaper pails? That's pretty clutch.
Yeah, we got one in Peyton's room, one in Avery's room, and one in the garage for stanky diapers.
We throw those downstairs, and I got to just run them out to the trash.
Yeah. But let's get into today's topic, Brandon. Today's topic's it's fun because this is something we haven't really been able to talk about until just recently. But, obviously we have 2, meaning me and my wife have 2 kids now. And you guys are expecting a second one. And everyone tells you forever as a parent, even before you have any kids, that your first kid is treated very differently than your second kid is treated. And just you are different as a parent. And I hate to admit it, but they're pretty much all right. It is very different. But we're going to go into today kind of some things, differences between first and second kid, what we might have thought ahead of time would be different, what we've experienced as being different, what you guys are kind of planning on maybe doing different this time. So it's just kind of a fun topic to talk about, as going from 1 kid to 2 kids, because it's different. And some of it's different because you're experienced. Some of it's different because it has to be, because there's another kid there while you're having a one. And some of it's different because you've learned better. So we'll go into all of that. Brandon, I'll let you kick it off.
I'll start off with just what I'm dealing with in the pregnancy stage right now, and it's the preparation. Part of the reason this podcast even exists is because I feel like we were too overly prepared, research-driven dads. And maybe it's because I feel like I've done the research already. I don't know. But I have done like 0 prep. I still have like my Daddy Up app, so I updated that. Kelsey has decided on the name. I am undecided on the name, so we're not decided on the name. I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble this episode. But that was like, I remember we went to Bye Bye Baby. Like, we were looking at the registry. Like, there's no registry to worry about with this baby. We're not doing a baby sprinkle or whatever the new age kids call it these days. I'll leave that alone. Like, there are times, I'm not gonna lie, and like I said, I'm just in trouble with this episode. I forget she's pregnant. Now she's starting to show, so it's kind of like you kind of see it. And I got in trouble. Speaking of trouble, like last week, because I looked at her and, dude, I think that like I legitimately love my wife's pregnant face. Like, I like it. Lips get big, nose starts like bridging out. But apparently you're not supposed to say it. Because I looked at her, I was like, oh, dude, I got excited. I was like, hey, like, you look pregnant in the face. And she looked at me, she was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, and she took it in stride, but I also, you kind of know you messed up when you hear it when she's on FaceTime with her mom later on. It's like, hey, Brandon told me I had pregnant face today. So I said it excitedly because personally it works for me. But I mean, the preparation just is something I haven't done at all, and I it's different because I did it a ton with the first child, and I was stressing because I felt like there was nothing that I could do. And this go around, I'm just kind of rolling with it, and I don't really think I have much to prepare for. I know it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think besides just knowing what to prepare for, I mean, it sounds bad, but the first kid, every doctor's appointment, everything to plan for, everything, like that's what you have besides, like, you know, your work and your marriage and stuff, but that's all your attention goes to that. Now you have a kid who you've never gone through the stages they're going through, and let's face it,
that's a great point.
A kid that's there, yeah, we got a kid that's there who's doing fun stuff or doing whatever stuff, maybe not even fun stuff, maybe annoying stuff, whatever it is, that takes precedent or is like in your face more than the kid that, like you said, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, that's right, we got another one on the way. So it's human nature. You almost feel guilty at times because you don't want it to be that way, but it's hard not to be. I mean, what are you going to do? Play with your 1-year-old kid or your 2-year-old kid and you know, have fun with them, or, you know, play Mozart for your your kid in the belly, you know? I mean, just I don't know. So I think that some of it's just natural, but it is different. It's a different experience because you're probably less engaged than, and maybe some people aren't, but I know for me, I was the same as you, Brandon. I was probably a little less engaged with the actual pregnancy because I was more engaged with being an actual dad, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, I was at this stage in Kelsey's pregnancy, and granted, the kid like is just developing ears and stuff like that, but I was in tune with everything, and I was talking like nightly, singing, doing all that, like, and I've done it, but it is fewer and far between than I did with Bryce. And you're right, part of it like makes you kind of feel bad, but you made me feel better when you said, hey, you got an actual kid that's out there that you got to worry about. So I'm not taking it too hard.
Yeah. And the next thing I think I'll talk about, Brandon, and this is something that I think a lot of people joke about, but it's almost obnoxiously true, is like with Peyton, we would wash and sterilize bottles every single time. We would sterilize pacifiers. We were overly careful when someone came to visit. Wash your hands. Don't touch my baby. Like crazy safe, right? With Avery, it's like, where'd that pacifier come from? I don't know. I think the dog had it. Wipe it off on your shirt, right? Like you just are like, and then like bottles, you still wash them, but you're like, did we sterilize? Like, it'll be fine. And then, you know, people come over the house, and instead of being like, did you wash your hands? You're like, take this kid. I need to think for 2 seconds. It's different. Like, I mean, because you got 2 now, you're handling more. That, and I told you before, Brandon, I think we talked about it, but the number one thing that's a difference between 1 and 2, and I think you'll experience this, hopefully not, but I think it's inevitable, is if you think you have no time when you have 1 kid, the amount of time when you have 2 is just, it doesn't exist. You don't have the time to do the dishes. You don't have the time to clean the house. You don't have the time for basically anything because you don't have the moments where you can pass the one off and the other person can do stuff. Or even like, oh, the baby's laying down. Well, that baby might be laying down, but your other kid's awake, you know? Or you have the baby, but the wife has the toddler. So like, it's just really, really hard to have the time. So you got to be efficient with your time. And you also don't want to spend it all washing dishes and sterilizing and, you know, being overly cautious. I mean, it is more difficult. So I would say that is a big difference between 1 and 2 is it's hard to be as cleansely or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And here's the cheat code for us. Unfortunately, our dishwasher went down during basically Bryce's first couple months being alive, or first 6 months being alive. So our process for cleaning involves throwing the bottles in the dishwasher, and it has basically a sanitized feature on it. So luckily, I think that'll be fairly similar for us, where we don't have to really change much because they still got to go in the dishwasher. But you did make me think about like kind of an off the cuff question that I hadn't thought about before. Have your nap? So right now, if I'm tired, like on a Saturday or Sunday that I don't have to work, Bryce takes a nap. I have all the freedom in the world to take a nap. Is Avery asleep when Peyton's asleep during nap time now? Or one of you guys has to be awake?
You try to make that happen. Like, that's the dream, right? Especially with two. Like, if you can get them both asleep at the same time. Because Peyton only takes one nap. So I've tried, and sometimes you're successful. The sad part about it, though, is... So, like, you might get that to happen. Like, I think Macy and I both are pretty good at getting it to happen. But, again, because of the lack of time, you legitimately have to use that time to get a bunch of crap done. And that sucks. It's just the truth, though. Because if you don't do it during that time, you're only doing it maybe at night. And, like, right now, Avery sometimes doesn't go to bed till, like, 10 o'clock. So, you're just not having time. Yeah. Like, luckily, knock on wood, I think she's asleep right now. But, like... She's not at the age yet where you can really schedule bedtime, right? It's kind of like when she goes, we're trying to, but they say actually, and we're close, they say around 4 months you can start like really scheduling naps and bedtime. We started using Napper again, and it's helped, but again, at 3 months, it's not really like they know, like, okay, it's time for a nap. It's kind of, it changes. So we're not quite to that point yet, so that is hard. That's something that you're probably going to struggle with.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. So my next thing, and I'm actually glad you brought up Napper. And for those who maybe are catching us later in our episodes and haven't listened to earlier episodes, we did a few like apps that we love episodes, and probably the first 20 to 30 times that we got in front of you guys. Napper is an app that we absolutely both of us used, and it was very helpful. And kind of determining when it was time to put your kid down. And I actually kind of forgot about it. For us, the next thing is just in real time, announcing the pregnancy casually / later. Or maybe not at all. So, and actually, for those listening who are part of our Instagram or Facebook following, I made a slight husband mistake. We haven't officially announced our pregnancy yet. I did it on the podcast, so you guys get a sneak peek. I announced it to, like, Jerry knew pretty early on. Our family and close friends knew. And then even, like, at work and stuff like that, it was kind of like a casual. It came up in conversation for probably one or two people. And then I told my personal team because I didn't want them hearing it from anybody else. And then, like, I had people walking up to me yesterday who were finding out for the first time. We do have pictures scheduled, just as, like, fall pictures, where Kelsey will take some, like, maternity-style photos. But I don't know that we have any plans of, like, officially announcing that we're pregnant. But I accidentally, this is what I was getting at, I posted a picture kind of letting you guys know that we had an episode coming soon. And it had Bryce with a picture that said Big Brother on it that I wasn't really paying attention to. And because we haven't officially announced, I got a text real quick like, hey, you need to take that down. So let's just stack up the things that I'm revealing, and I'm probably gonna get yelled at for it later. But yeah, that's a big thing for us. We were deliberate in the announcement with the first baby, and this whole episode is probably going to sound bad for me, and how I feel like I'm treating this second baby boy. But I could care less if we announce it or not. I don't really feel like I have to do it.
I get that. It's just different, for sure. The next one I'll say, Brandon, and this one was different for us, but it was more so for other reasons. But the birth itself. Right? And ours was obviously different because it was a much different experience, just with Macy being in the hospital for like a week. But all in all, I think that the first versus the second is different because one, as a dad and as a mom, hopefully you know what to expect a little bit, right? So that changes it for the good or the bad. You kind of know what to expect. But also, like, typically for a woman, they say it tends to be easier the second time around. We obviously had a lot of complications ahead of time, but the actual labor was easier for Macy, so that at least was better. But then also, like, once the baby's born, one, it's different. Not that, you still have that, like, oh, it's our kid, it's this feeling, but the first time around you're like, uh-oh. A little bit of like, what do we do? How's this gonna go? I don't know. This time around you're like, all right, are we going home? Can we get like back at, you know what I mean? Like, cause you know what you're doing.
To go back.
You're a vet. You're like, yeah, like, all right, let's the baby's here. Let's get home. We're good to go. Not that you're not excited or anything like that. But it's more like I think you're less nervous about that portion of it. You're more nervous about how's the sibling going to act or how are we going to deal with two. But that portion of it you can't deal with while at the hospital. So there's a little bit of like, okay, like I know it was a big deal for us to bring Avery home and have Peyton see her. And then how was Peyton going to be? And then how was Avery going to be? And how are we going to be with two? But again, while you're in the hospital, you don't have that. It's almost like a fake reality, which should be nice in a way, but it's also like, I guess there's like an anxious energy where you're kind of like, okay, I want to get into like seeing how the day-to-day is going to be. So the birth experience itself is different. I think every birth's different anyways, but it was, I don't know, like you know more, and you also like, I think are less nervous at least about some things, but you're also at the same time, like, what's coming. And so there's a little bit of like, oh, this is going to be a lot. So.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. And the other thing that you didn't hit on, and maybe you're thinking about it later, I don't know, but I am, the hard part for me, this is just a real conversation, but Bryce I have, and you and I have kind of talked about this, but Bryce I have at that point will have had 2.5 years of relationship built with. And I mean, you ask any parent which kid is their favorite kid, or which kid do you love more, or whatever the saying may be. It's like, I don't have any favorites. I love all my kids the same. I'm gonna have 2.5 years built with one kid. How am I gonna am I gonna have this like the same feeling? Am I gonna with the newborn baby? And it kind of takes me back to, some people told me, and they were wrong, but before Bryce was born, it takes a while for you to develop like that bond, that relationship, that love. I felt like I had that from the beginning. So I honestly, I have no doubt about that with the new kid. But how is the relationship difference going to feel? Am I going to, it probably isn't going to matter, but like, how is it ultimately going to feel for me, looking at one kid who I got the last 2.5 years with, and one kid who I got the last 2.5 minutes with. So it's kind of like a tough thought, but it's something that has absolutely crossed my mind multiple times.
Yeah, and I think there is some of that. I think the thing that I've noticed, and it'll be interesting to see if you have this too, and I'm aware of it, which probably makes it worse. Macy's definitely aware of it. I have less patience with Avery than I ever did with Peyton. And the crazy part is, like I said, I'm conscious of it, and I know that I am less patient with her, and I don't want to be, but I just can't help it. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because like Peyton was not a good baby, right? She was colicky. But like with her, it was like almost like I didn't know any better. I didn't know where it was ended. I was just trying to do, but this time I'm like, all right, knock it off. Let's get through this stage. And we're going to be good. Right. Like, I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but like she, so like, and it's been a little bit better lately, because now I think now that she's starting to show some personality and like respond to things, it like makes you like, get your heart right. But when they're like newborns and they don't like know anything and they're just like crying, and so for me it was hard, and I was conscious of it. And I remember my brother-in-law, who we had on the show, Mike, he said that he had the least amount of patience with the second kid too. And it was funny. Like I don't know why, but I definitely have less patience the second time around. And I wish that wasn't the case. And I feel like almost like if we had a third kid, I'd be better again because it'd be almost like, okay, this is the last time. But like with Avery, sometimes I'm just like, hey, can we just like, I don't know. It is weird because like I feel like I'm less patient with Avery and she'll drive me nuts sometimes. But I feel like Peyton will drive Macy nuts now sometimes, and I'll be like, she's fine. So it's like almost like Macy becomes like the protector for Avery, and
you guys are balancing each other out.
We are.
So you kind of hit on it, and I don't know if it's your turn or my turn, but I guess I'm just gonna keep talking. You kind of mentioned just not being like as stressed out. I definitely dealt with like, and maybe this is something that I don't know that I'll deal with the second child, but I had like postpartum anxiety, which I don't deal with anxiety. Like I don't have anxiety. It's just not in my personality. I haven't dealt with that in my life, and I absolutely had it for months after Bryce was born, to the point where I really couldn't sleep. I am honestly thinking that I'm gonna be more relaxed with the second child because I've done it before, and it's not something you honestly, in my mind, you have just a more confidence. So like when you have your first child, it's kind of a mix of like excitement, anxiety, uncertainty, but in my mind, by the time the second child arrives, I'm going to be confident in my abilities as a parent, and like I've been there before. I have a better understanding of what to expect. But it seems like sometimes you have like a different kind of excitement. Like the novelty of becoming a parent for the first time is potentially going to be replaced by like a deeper appreciation for experiencing like that second child. So I'm interested to see kind of where I ultimately go with it. But ultimately you got to savor the moment, and I'm really, really excited for that newborn stage. But you kind of just told me that maybe I'm not. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, I think there are definite moments of it that it is pretty cool, especially because, you've seen one kid go through it and you don't have it anymore. So when you kind of like, have your second kid and it's like, okay, I miss this part. There's definite moments like that. And they're going to continue to be. So that's kind of fun. The last thing I'll kind of say, Brandon, and I'll kind of end with something positive, is with the second kid is you get to kind of experience something you can't with the first kid or with one kid. And that is you get to kind of experience like a family setting, like with more, like, so now you get to experience what it's like to have a kid with an older sibling, but you also get to see like the younger kid with the elder sibling and the elder sibling with the younger sibling. And then, almost like dealing with multiple kids at the same time. And like, I don't know, it just becomes almost like a family dynamic. And that's really cool. Like my favorite moments are Peyton and Avery together. Like Peyton loves Avery and she wants to hold her and she wants to pat her on the head and burp her and all these crazy things. And then like now Avery's making faces, so it's great too because Avery's just like, "What are you doing to me?" And it's just it's the best, right? Because when she was young, she just like lays there, right? But now like to the I think it was yesterday maybe. She's in her chair and Peyton comes up just randomly, just starts like patting Avery on the head for no reason. Avery wasn't making any noise. She was being a good kid. And Avery just kind of like looks at me like, why is this kid hitting me on the head? And Peyton thinks she's being great. She's thinking she's being so nice. And I'm like, I don't know. But it was great. Like I like stuff like that is really cool. And it's just, I don't know, it's fun. And I just can see like as they get older and they start doing stuff more and more, it's going to be really fun. So it brings a new dynamic that you don't even really think of that much when there's just one. You start thinking about them together and like activities like as a unit. And it's just, I don't know, it is cool. And I think sometimes too, to kind of piggyback on this, is the second kid, you appreciate some things that maybe you didn't the first time around because you were worried that, like right now, like Avery hasn't rolled over. I couldn't tell you if she's late or early or normal because I'm not stressed out about it, right? I'm like, but so I'm just enjoying like her trying to figure it out.
It's definitely
Whereas with
early,
Peyton, I
though.
think I would have been stressed.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's the thing. Like I don't even know. Like, but that kind of stuff is cool. Like I'm definitely less stressed about that kind of stuff the second time around, which is fun. Like I'm not worried that she can't roll over or she can't do something or should be doing something. I'm not even looking into it because it's like I got bigger problems, right? So that those are positive things.
Yeah, I think my last thing, or I guess last couple, we'll wrap into one, is appreciating the newborn stage, which I kind of said already. We definitely want to put the baby in the crib sooner, which we with Bryce. I mean, he was a year old, I believe, before we put him in the crib. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm not gonna have a newborn baby in my bedroom for a year.
Avery's already in her crib.
Hey,
and she's 3 months old.
So you
And
guys did that.
Well,
you guys did that sooner too.
100% we did. I mean, she's right next door. So like last night she woke up like 4 times, and you hear her every time. But
she's still not in the room.
It is different.
It's completely
Correct.
different. And then the other thing is just, and part of this is going to be because we're going to have a 2.5 to 3 year old while this baby's in his first 6 months. But like and part of this was based on the fact that we were going through like a COVID society at the time, but like leaving the house, like going out. Bryce was born in August, at the end of August, going to September. So basically this time of year in Michigan, winter starts kind of November. So you're probably not doing much with the kid in the first month or so. This is going to be almost like a completely opposite experience where the first couple months of the next baby boy's life is going to be the end of winter going into spring. And like, I fully plan on like being outside, going out to restaurants. He's probably going to experience things a lot sooner than Bryce did as a kid. Part of that is being just a more relaxed parent in general. But for me, that's kind of a wrap. I'm super excited for the next baby boy, Banks. There is some nervousness in kind of how I'm going to be as a dad of 2, but I'm confident that it's going to be a fun experience and something I'm ready for.
It's definitely fun, and it'll be fun to talk to you about too, because some of the differences are just hard to explain, and you'll know when you know, but it is cool. And like I said, the sibling thing is a new kind of like love or a new kind of experience that it's hard to explain until you see it, but it's great.
I can't wait for Bryce to bop baby boy Banks in the head.
Oh yeah, he will too. It just like stuff that like, even though they think they're being so nice, it's the best, because you're trying to like not like chastise them for doing something that they think they're being sweet for, but you're also trying to protect your kid. It's a balance, but it'll be good. I'm excited for you guys. But now into a dad joke, Brandon. Let's get a dad joke. You ready for it?
I'm waiting with bated breath.
So, Brandon, when I was growing up, I remember hanging around my dad, and I'd ask my dad all types of questions, like I'm sure Bryce will ask you one day, because, little boys look up to their dad, right?
Where do babies come from?
Exactly, stuff like that. So, I remember being a kid and asking my dad, I was like, Dad, can you tell me what a solar eclipse is? And he looked at me and he said, no, son. Yep.
That was a good dad joke. That was worth a couple weeks.
Yep. So I like that.
We came with the heat today.
We did. That was a good one.
Yours was more dad joke. Mine was more.
It was
like stepmom joke.
Well, I like it, Brandon. It's been a few weeks, but we got a lot going on, a lot of exciting things, stuff to talk about. It's gonna be fun. I think we got a lot of things going on, and a lot of good topics we're gonna hit in the next few weeks. Obviously, as you guys get further into the pregnancy, that's gonna open a whole new world of ideas and things that we can talk about. So it's gonna be good. I do know with us going to Seattle next week, we might have a couple weeks between episodes, but it'll be a action-packed episode with a lot to talk about. I'm sure I'm going to have, oh gosh, I hope there's not that much to talk about, but I got a feeling there's going to be a ton. But for all of our listeners out there that haven't already, please like us on all our social media pages. Please write a review. Tell your friends about us. We like hearing from each and every single one of you. We appreciate each and every single one of you. But until next time, I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.